A reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 8, Verse 39, Prayers by Queen Kunti. Neyam shobishate tatra,
Neyam shobishate tatra,
tate danim gadadhara,
vedanam gadadhara,
tvatpadarankita bhakti,
tvatpadarankita bhakti,
salakshana vilakshite. Chant.
Neyam shobishate tatra,
Neyam shobishate tatra,
vedanam gadadhara,
vedanam gadadhara,
tvatpadarankita bhakti,
padarankita bhakti,
salakshana vilakshita.
salakshana vilakshite.
Neyam
Shobishate tatra, vedanam gadadhara, tvatpadarankita bhakti, salakshana vilakshite.
Neyam shobishate tatra,
Neyam
Shobishate tatra,
yate danim gadadhara,
yate danim gadadhara,
vatpade ankita bhati,
tvatpade ankita bhakti,
salakshana vilakshite.
salakshana vilakshite.
Neyam shobishate tatra,
Neyam shobishate tatra,
yate danim gadadhara,
yate danim gadadhara,
tvatpadar ankita bhakti,
tvatpade ankita bhakti,
svalakshana vilakshite.
salakshana vilakshite. Na, not, Iyan, this land of our kingdom, Shabishate, will appear beautiful. Sacha, then, Yatha, as it is now, Idanim, how, Vadadara, O Krishna, Tvat, your, Vadai, by the feet, Ankita, marked, Vati, is dazzling, Salakshana, your own marks, Nirakshita, by the impressions. Translation. O Gadadhara Krishna, our kingdom is now being marked by the impressions of your feet, and therefore it appears beautiful. But when you leave, it will no longer be so. Purport. There are certain particular marks on the feet of the Lord which distinguish the Lord from others. The marks of a flag, thunderbolt, and instrument to drive an elephant, umbrella, lotus, disc, etc., are on the bottom of the Lord's feet. These marks are impressed upon the soft dust of the land where the Lord traverses. The land of Hastinapur was thus marked, while Lord Shri Krishna was there with the Pandavas, and the kingdom of the Pandavas thus flourished by such auspicious signs. Kunti Devi pointed out these distinguished features and was afraid of ill luck in the absence of the Lord. Mukkam karati vachalam vangam langayate girim yakripam tamam vande shiguru dinataya om jnana timarandasya jnananjalakshakaya chakshurmilitam yena tasmai shigurave namaha. So the Pandavas are so fortunate. Kunti is expressing their fortune. What is their fortune? The marks of Krishna's lotus feet in Hastinapur. I mean, I didn't know he went barefoot in Hastinapur, but I guess he did. He did in Vrindavan, so that's part of their kingdom too, because their kingdom was the whole world. So, yeah, if Krishna was, huh?
You just read my mind. I was supposed to ask you.
Yeah. Why don't you put his lotus feet up there if you can find it? The marks on Krishna's lotus feet. If you can put it up, and then we can meditate for the whole class on the marks of his lotus feet. So Brihad Bhagavatamrita Hanuman is talking to Narada, and he says, please do not let your intelligence become shrouded by the offensive idea that you and I are staunch celibates, and the Pandavas are mere householders distracted by political affairs. Those Pandavas never desire anything material because they constantly serve Lord Krishna's lotus feet. Yeah, but they must be up there, okay. If you can make them big, or you can. And indeed, their own lotus feet are worshipped by the spiritual masters of the Paramahansas. So the Pandavas' lotus feet are worshipped by the spiritual masters of the Paramahansas, not just the Paramahansas, all the gurus, are worshipping the lotus feet of the Pandavas. Now you might be wondering, why are they entangled in all this royal opulence? Why are they ruling the world? Why don't they just renounce? So then Hanuman says, the eldest of these brothers rules the state out of love for the personality of Godhead. Thus his kingdom is rich in all sorts of assets, rarely enjoyed by the demigods. So actually Yudhisthira didn't want to rule the kingdom. Even Krishna, at the end of this chapter, even Krishna can't convince him, even the sages can't convince him to rule the kingdom. It's not that he really wanted the kingdom, but Bhishma convinced him. And what Krishna cannot do, his devotee can do. So yes, the devotee is more powerful than Krishna. So why were they entangled in all this ruling the kingdom and this opulence? Commentary says, only as a burden of love. Because they loved Krishna, they did their duty as Kshatriyas. And why, another reason why, is because as king, King Yudhisthira could spread Krishna consciousness. He got great opportunities for spreading Krishna consciousness. So this is, it seems material entanglement. The devotees going and preaching, of course now we don't go, we're on Zoom. But anyway, yes. That's why Yudhisthira took up the kingship, the emperorship of the world. There's his lotus feet. Yes. Is it? Oh, that's Balaram's. Nityananda's. Johnny Tai. There's a plow there. Yeah. Krishna, yeah, I hope you can find him. Anyway, that's all right. So in Canto 3, Chapter 1, Verse 2, we have Vidura here. What else is there to say about the residential house of the Pandavas? Shri Krishna, the Lord of everything, acted as your minister. He used to enter that house as if it were his own, and he did not take any care of Duryodhana's house. So why did Krishna go to their house? Yeah, that looks better. Yeah, that's it. Okay. So Prabhupada says, according to the Gaudiya, Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva philosophy, anything which satisfies the senses of the Supreme Lord Krishna is also Krishna. For example, Sri Vrindavan Dham is non-different from Krishna, because at Vrindavan the Lord enjoys the transcendental bliss of his internal potency. Similarly, the house of the Pandavas is also the source of transcendental bliss for the Lord. It is mentioned here the Lord identified the house with his own self, as the house of the Pandavas was as good as Vrindavan. And Raman Reti also, new Raman Reti, I'm thinking about old Raman Reti because I lived there, but new Raman Reti is also Vrindavan, because we do have the deities here. This is Navadvip, Gaurnitai, and we also have Radha Shyamasundar here. So this is also, we're in Vrindavan. Prabhupada in many lectures, he would say, you're not in Los Angeles, you are in Vrindavan. You're in the spiritual world because you're in the temple. So the sages, they go to the forest to avoid bad association, meditate, try to get a glimpse of Krishna's lotus feet. But that's, even if they travel at the space of the mind, at the speed of the mind, it will take them millions of years and they may not be successful, according to Brahma Samhita. But when Krishna was here, they just used to go and visit Kunti and the Pandavas, because then they could see Krishna's lotus feet. Although they would avoid grihastas, like anything, like poison, but they would go to Kunti's house. And what does that mean? That Kunti is greater than the Paramahansas, the sages. So now here in these verses, from verse 37, Kunti is giving Krishna reasons why he shouldn't leave. Their enemies are still alive. Any moment they may come and attack. How can they be safe without Krishna's protection? And then yesterday's verse, if Krishna leaves them, their name, fame, and everything else will be useless, like decorations on a dead body. And so just like the body without Krishna is useless, so the kingdom without Krishna is useless. And our life without Krishna is useless. And our house without Krishna is useless. And our mind without Krishna is useless. So keep Krishna in your mind. Now in verse 37 purport, Prabhupada says that all the members of the Pandava family were Mahatmas in household life. Yudhishthira was the head of Mahatmas, and Kunti was the mother. And all the lessons of Gita and the Puranas, especially Bhagavatam, are connected with the history of the Pandava Mahatmas. For them, the separation from the Lord was like separation of a fish from water. Kunti therefore felt such separation like a thunderbolt. And the whole prayer of the queen is to try to persuade the Lord to stay with them. So this is Sharanagati. She believes in Krishna. She believes one of the stages of surrender is to Krishna will give me all protection. So she's praying for that. And she's saying, you know, we're not free. We killed so many kings, and we have no shelter. Don't think we're free. We have no protection. So she's saying, don't leave us. Don't think we're safe. Without your protection, we're always unsafe. So these are the symptoms, Prabhupada says, of a Krishna conscious person. He knows without Krishna's protection, I'm in danger. Now especially we're in danger. We have all these lockdowns and virus and everything. But if you find shelter at Krishna's feet, you will feel safe. You will feel safe. And that is the flag there. There's a flag, and that's safe protection and security from all types of fear. The conch shell meditation also will give you fearlessness. And the bow will give you freedom from worries and difficulties. So these are nice meditations. And Kunti is also saying, you know, we're your intimate friends. How can you leave us? So then in the verse 38 was about the body. Our bodies are useless without you. Our name, our fame, our activities will end if you leave. We'll be like dead bodies. And so Srila Prabhupada, he was reflecting on his past family life. And he said, all that is left is a list of names. Just some names. And that's what we're going to be after a few years too. A list of names in our family. So in the 12th canto, 2nd chapter, verse 36, it says, although one may consider oneself to be a great powerful leader, he will ultimately end up as a name in a long list of names. And so, yeah, maybe I will be in the list of Prabhupada disciples, 5,000 names. Or maybe people will remember me as being a disciple of Srila Prabhupada. I don't know. Maybe not. So, as soon as the life is gone from the body, it's just a lump. It ends up as ashes or stool, or I forgot the third one. Worms. Anyway, so Prabhupada said, when you see there's a very important man, when he's alive, no one can go up to him and touch him, but when he's dead and lying on the floor, you can kick him, Prabhupada said, and nobody will care. Of course, I think they would care if he's an important man, but I mean, the purport is that as long as the super soul is there with us, as long as Krishna is there holding up our body, we can stay there and the body will work. If Krishna leaves, and so that's what they're saying, that Krishna is leaving now. And she says, what are we? You know, people say, oh, Pandavas are such great warriors, such great heroes. But what is our value? Without you, it's useless. So then, yeah, dust, that's the third one. There is a verse, Bhagavad Bhakti Hinasya, Jati Shastra Japastaka, Apranasya Yadehasya Mandalam, Loka Ranjanam. For a person devoid of devotional service to Krishna, his birth in a great family or nation, his knowledge of revealed scripture, his performance of austerities and penance, and his chanting of Vedic mantras are like ornaments on a dead body. So Prabhupada talks about this. He says that we all have consciousness. So what is this consciousness? Consciousness means Krishna consciousness. We have forgotten Krishna, so we just simply say we have consciousness. Without Krishna, we're just consciousness. What's the use? Actually, Krishna consciousness is our constitutional position, and that's who we really are. We're devotees of Krishna. Because without Krishna, we can't have consciousness. If we didn't have Krishna, we couldn't be conscious. Just like without the sun, there cannot be sunshine. And so Kunti is saying, yes, we're very important, but what is our value? She's saying, you will go away from us, Krishna, we won't be able to see you. And so what will be the value of our name and fame? And she's saying, the reason why we're famous is because you're with us. Of course, in Bhagavatam, we hear Krishna in his incarnation as Narayani say, the reason why why Lakshmi is because I worship the lotus feet of my devotees. And so that's what's happening in the spiritual world. There's reciprocation. Devotees like to worship Krishna, Krishna likes to worship the devotees. And so another point that Kunti makes, why Krishna comes, he comes here to teach the process of devotional service. Chanting, hearing, remembering, worshiping. We can be free and we can quickly come to the lotus feet of Krishna very quickly. I think that was verse 36. Anyway, and so in this verse, she's saying not only is our body useless, our kingdom is useless because now we can't see the impressions of your lotus feet. So Prabhupada's lecture on this verse, he said if we try to keep Krishna in the center, everything will be opulent, there will be no scarcity. And it was not that this applied only when Krishna was here and Kunti was speaking, but the truth is always the same. Despite the advancement of our civilization, if we cannot bring Krishna and Krishna consciousness into the center, our civilization will never become beautiful. So now we're seeing the effects of forgetting Krishna on our present civilization. Not only is it not beautiful, it's becoming very fearful and dangerous. Dangerous to go on the street, to go to the store, to do anything. As we were hearing, don't do Harinam at the football games anymore, because you might get infected by somebody who's not wearing a mask. Very dangerous now to go on Harinam even. And so we have to invite Krishna. Prabhupada said, invite Krishna. We can make everything beautiful if Krishna is in the center. He's here, and we just have to invite him. Krishna, please come, be in the center. Just like Prabhupada says, if you have a 0, it has no value. But if we bring number 1 and place it in front of the 0, it becomes 10, 100, 1,000. So we don't stop anything material, we just have to add Krishna. Now what's the secret? Prabhupada says there is a secret how to keep Krishna always present. Kirtan. Kirtan is the way. Prabhupada says that's how we can keep Krishna present, because wherever the pure devotees are there chanting, Krishna is there. Tatatishtami narada yatta gayanti madbhakta. And then opulences will come. Just like that on the foot to the right, the foot to the left, above the chakra, there is a barley corn. There's a little grain of barley right under the big toe on the foot to our left, which is his right foot. And that barley corn, if you meditate on it, you get all opulences. So anybody who's interested in opulences, of course, opulences of the devotee are never lost. They're never lost. Krishna protects that. So, Krishna, Prabhupada said he's not really leaving the Pandavas, just as he never left Vrindavan. But Kunti is so anxious. Oh, Krishna's leaving, he's going to be absent. And Prabhupada said, no, the actual effect of Krishna's physical absence is he becomes more intensely present within the mind of the devotee. Just like when Krishna was present, you could see him in one place right in front of you. Devotees would see him, but when he was absent from them, they would see Krishna everywhere. Oh, by that tree, oh, over there. They would see Krishna in so many places, and they would see Krishna in their heart. When he's not outside, he comes inside. And then from the heart, you can see Krishna everywhere. Your perception changes. And so our teachings of Lord Chaitanya, Krishna's presence, can be felt more strongly in separation. And Lord Chaitanya's teaching, Shinjayatam Jagat Sarvam Govindam Virahename. So Lord Chaitanya thought everything is vacant without Govinda, without Krishna. Prabhupada said everything was vacant, but Krishna consciousness was there. But Krishna was there because he had consciousness. When we see everything as nothing and only Krishna consciousness, then we will have attained the highest perfection, Prabhupada says. So there is a nice purport, 3.124. There are still many devotees of the Lord lingering in Vrindavan in ecstasy in search of Krishna and his childhood associates, the gopis. It is not that such devotees meet Krishna face to face in that tract of land, but the devotees eagerly searching after Krishna is as good as his seeing him personally. How this is so cannot be explained, but it is factually realized by those who are pure devotees of the Lord. Philosophically, one can understand Lord Krishna and his remembrance are on the absolute plane, and the very idea of searching for him at Vrindavan in pure God consciousness gives more pleasure to the devotee than seeing him face to face. Such devotees of the Lord see him face to face at every moment. And so that's something for us to aspire for. How is it? Prabhupada said, how this is so cannot be explained. When Krishna is gone, then you see him more. How is that? That is, yeah. And so, as we said, the lotus feet here are emphasized. Parikshit was speaking to Shukadeva at the beginning of 10th canto, chapter 1, verse 5-7. He said, taking the boat of Krishna's lotus feet, my grandfather Arjuna and others crossed the ocean, the battlefield of Kurukshetra, in which such commanders as Bhishma Dev resembled great fish that could very easily have swallowed them. By the mercy of Lord Krishna, my grandfathers crossed this ocean, which is very difficult to cross, as easily as one steps over the hoofprint of a calf. So there you see the hoofprint of the calf underneath the bow on the foot to the right. And if you meditate on that, it becomes very easy to cross this ocean. Also the same with the barley corn, the top of the foot on the left. If you meditate, you can cross this ocean. Also the conch shell, because the conch shell holds the whole ocean of material existence. And if you meditate on the conch shell, you can cross this ocean too. 3 ways on Krishna's lotus feet. Then Parikshit says, because my mother surrendered unto Lord Krishna's lotus feet, the Lord Sudarshan Chakra in hand entered her womb and saved my body, the body of the last remaining descendant of the Kurus and Pandavas, which was almost destroyed by the fiery weapon of Ashwatthama. So the chakra there on the foot to the left, if you meditate on, that will kill your 6 enemies, Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moha, Mada, and Matsarya. And it's the Teja Tattva, it will light up your heart if you meditate on the chakra. All the light is coming from Krishna's chakra, Sudarshan Chakra. Now Govinda Lilamrita says, a single mentioning of the glories of Krishna's feet at once removes one's thirst for everything else. They are expert in destroying calamities of those who meditate on them and bestow all good fortune. Simply by meditating on Krishna's lotus feet, one attains all spiritual and material fortune, beauty, good qualities, and wealth. They are the abode of all pastimes. May those feet be our everything. So if you need any of those things, meditate on Krishna's lotus feet. Now, we talked about some of the marks on his lotus feet. I'll talk about a few more. There's a line going up his lotus feet on the left foot next to between the disc and the lotus flower. And that means that if you hold on to Krishna's lotus feet like you're holding on to a lifeline, you'll be transported to the spiritual world. And the path is very direct, straight, and narrow. And not only that, his lotus feet reach down to the lowest of fallen souls who take shelter of him and deliver them to the highest destination. So if you think you're not qualified, you're low, then just hold on to the line coming down there. And now now one more, at the bottom of that left foot, there's a ashtakona, which is octagon, 8-sided figure. That means if you worship his lotus feet, you're protected in the 8 directions, and nothing is in the kingdom of 8 directions is unattainable for Krishna's devotees. And you get all 8 mystic powers too. So if you want mystic powers, meditate on Krishna's lotus feet, yes. Everything is there, all material things, all spiritual things. If you want spiritual things, that's for you too. Just meditate. Now, one last thing. Oh, the triangle on the right foot. That has a lot of meanings. I just have a few here. If you take shelter of Krishna's feet, you get saved from the snares of the 3 modes and the threefold miseries. Everyone should resort to Krishna's lotus feet with full concentration of body, mind, and words. Now, there is a prayer about Krishna's lotus feet from the demigods, 3rd canto, 5th chapter, verse 39. And that is about the umbrella on the left foot and the thunderbolt, which is also on the left foot in the middle. O Lord, your lotus feet are like an umbrella for the surrendered souls, protecting them from all the miseries of material existence. All the sages under that shelter throw off all material miseries. We therefore offer our respectful obeisances unto your lotus feet. Then, now here that was the umbrella. Now the thunderbolt is 3rd canto, 28th chapter, verse 22, meditation of the yogis. Thunderbolt is on the left side. Blessed Lord Shiva, because becomes all the more blessed by bearing on his head the holy waters of Ganga, which has its source in the water that wash the Lord's lotus feet. That's in the conch shell, the Ganges River, and the water pots on the right also hold the Ganga. The Lord's feet act like thunderbolts, hurled to shatter the mountain of sin stored in the mind of the meditating devotee. One should therefore meditate on the lotus feet of the Lord for a long time. Now, I'd also like to say something. It's kind of the next verse. Hope you don't mind. It's about Krishna's glance, because I have something to say about Krishna's glance. I don't know who gives the class tomorrow, but anyway, maybe they won't say these things. You can hear it again. That's true. So his glance, from his glance comes 3 things. Actually, more than 3, but I'll just talk about 3 right now. Creation, maintenance, and destruction. We know, beginning of creation, he glanced at Mahadevi and everything was set into motion. And maintenance, there is a verse in 11th canto, I don't have the exact reference. It says, as long as the Supreme Personality of Godhead continues to glance upon nature, the material world continues to exist, perpetually manifesting through procreation the great and variegated flow of universal creation. So did you know that he didn't stop glancing since he glanced at mine? He's still looking. If he stopped looking for a second, this whole creation would be finished. He's still looking. He's still glancing. Now, there's also a destructive glance. And that is when Krishna came. This is in 3rd canto. I don't have the exact reference. But, yeah, I should have looked it up. Anyway, in the 3rd canto, it talks about when he came in front of both the armies at Kurukshetra, he glanced at the opposing side and shortened their lifespan. As soon as Krishna looked at them, that was destruction. Their life was finished. So destruction is also there in his glance too. Watch out. Now, and Kunti is in the next verse is saying, do his glance, the grains are abundant, trees are full of fruits, rivers are flowing, hills full of minerals, oceans full of wealth. But Prabhupada says, but she never mentions industry and slaughterhouses are flourishing, for such things are nonsense that men have developed to create problems. Okay. So, Prabhupada also advises us we should simply plead for Krishna's glance, and there'll be no question of scarcity or need. So, yes. Then last comment. Well, there's one more before the last comment. In 10th canto, 13th chapter, verse 50, talks about the glance of the Lord. Vishnu. Vishnu was glancing at Brahma. So many Vishnus, of course. All the calves and cowherd boys were Vishnus. So they were glancing at Brahma. And the verse says, by the glance of the Lord, it's like the mode of passion because it creates desires for devotional service. So if we look at the deity and he glances at you, you might get more desires for devotional service. And so that's what happens. And in the smile of the Lord protects, it's like the mode of goodness which protects those desires so you don't lose them. So when Prabhupada says, when we sit in Krishna's temple, Krishna glances over us and everything is nice. When sincere souls try to become Krishna's devotees, Krishna kindly comes in his full opulence and glances on them and they become happy and beautiful. So try to meditate on Krishna's lotus feet, meditate on his glance, and your life will be perfect and beautiful. Hare Krishna. Any questions?
You say something about the fish?
The fish, oh, there's like 20 meanings, no, 10 meanings on the fish. The fish means without Krishna, like a fish out of water. That's one meaning. And it's Cupid's sign of surrender also. The sign of the fish is on Cupid's flag. So it's Cupid surrendering to Krishna's lotus feet. And the mind is very fickle. It's also about our mind. And it's not until so much meditation that Krishna's lotus feet will come into our heart. That's another meaning. It's also Matsya avatar. Matsya. Can't remember all of the meanings. Yeah, that's what I remember.
And if you don't think of Krishna, there's something fishy.
Yes, we can add that, I guess. There's something fishy. Yes, the fish. What I remember when I was a Christian, the fish was a symbol of Christ somehow. I remember the fish. No, fish was, somehow it got in there. I don't know how that happened, but I remember that. It's kind of a symbol. And so yeah, it's got lots of meanings. Lots of meanings.
Did you read those or you just thought of them?
Well, I meditate on them every day when I chant japa. So,
All these things?
yeah. It helps me focus. My mind will stay somewhere rather than somewhere else. I try to stay on Krishna. So, and if it goes away, then I bring it back. I got something to bring it back to.
You have a picture or just a...
Yeah, I have a picture. Radharani's too. Both of them. And she has her own, and they have her own special meanings. But she also has a lot of Krishnas, and same meanings as Krishna. Some are a little different also. Some are a little different than Krishna's. Yeah. And the chakra, which we saw in Krishna's, means the same things on Radha's, but it also means the circle of Vrindavan. So it's Vrindavan, it means Vrindavan on Radha's feet. And so,
Mandala?
huh?
Mathura Mandala.
Yeah, Mathura Mandala. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, so, that is our meditation. We can try to do that. Try to remember his lotus feet. Lotus feet is all over in Prabhupada's books. Think of Krishna's lotus feet because they're sheltered. But do you know what's on the lotus feet? What are you taking shelter of? It's good to educate yourself, huh? Find out, what are those marks? What do they mean? And, okay?
I was saying, in Chaitanya Charitamrita Lila, Prabhupada said the Radharani's earring
Earring, yeah.
is made of Krishna Kata.
Krishna Kata, really?
Shape of a fish.
Oh, wow. Okay, where is it? Oh, okay. These are questions?
Something mixed.
Okay, Nanda. Is there a special reason in the picture of the Lord's lotus feet, the right foot is always pictured on the left side, and the right foot is on the left side. The right foot is always on the left. And anyway, yeah, I understood the reason why that's so. Because when you look at the feet, the right foot, when you look at Krishna, when you look at the deities now, if you're facing them, the right foot is on the left and the left foot's on the right. So when you meditate on the lotus feet, you're facing Krishna. And he's lifting his feet up so you can see them. That's why I figured that one out. Why it's there, because that's how you see Krishna when you're face to face with him. I mean, if you look like this, you won't see his lotus feet. If you're side by side, then you'll see his in the right way. You'll see them in the right way, and you won't see them. You'll see of course, you'll see the impressions. So yeah, how would we see if you're going the same way as Krishna, you'll see it going in the right way. If you're coming towards the footprints, then you'll see it in opposite like this. Yeah, okay. Nanda, Ramdev. Since Krishna went back to Goloka, what fills the gap created by his absence? Well, you just read Srimad Bhagavatam and find out. There is a verse, that question was asked by the sages of Naimisharanya. What fills the gap? Since Krishna went back to Goloka, Srimad Bhagavatam has risen like the sun. I can't lift it. Anyway, to fill up that gap. And Bhagavatam is Krishna. Holy name is Krishna. This temple is Krishna. Here's a protest from a budding Mayavadi. I agree with your assessment of the material world, but your solution seems so fanatic. Nothing will improve without Krishna. Why so fanatical? Why not anything else? Okay, you give another suggestion, and we'll see what you think will improve the world without Krishna. Okay, let's see. Are the markings, here's from Krishna Kishore, markings like stamp impressions or the symbols created by natural lines of the feet? Well, they're natural lines on the feet. It's not like when you touch Krishna's lotus feet, you feel some engravings. It says, in fact, the lotus flower on the lotus feet says that the feet are soft like lotus petals. So you're not going to feel any engravings there. Stamped impressions. How do we explain to non-devotees about the importance of the feet of the Vaishnavas and Krishna? I've heard people say, seems like Hare Krishna have a foot fetish. Yeah. Well, that's the meditation of the yogis. You can tell them, how do the yogis meditate? They start with the feet, and then they go up to the smiling face. So if you want to meditate, if you want to do proper meditation, it begins with lotus feet. I plan to get a picture to meditate on. Oh, that's Jai Govinda. Thank you. Ananda, how about if we are in the dust, if we look up because we're under his lotus feet, so we see them backwards? If we're in the dust.
That's interesting.
I don't know. I think you got to try it. And see. These are one of the questions that Prabhupada would say, go back to Godhead and see for yourself. Yeah. You want more?
No, these are texts.
Oh. Okay. Some so-called devotees argue Krishna is real, his lotus feet are real, but the idea of taking shelter of Krishna's lotus feet are actually a metaphor. How can one spread eternity sitting at Krishna's lotus feet? Isn't a devotee supposed to be engaged in active service? Can you address this attitude of that neophyte devotee? Well, it's described in Bhagavatam that when a devotee speaks, out from his mouth come the saffron particles of dust from the lotus feet of Krishna. So that's active service. When you speak about Krishna, when you preach, it's very active service. And the reason he can do that is because he's sitting at Krishna's lotus feet. He's not just sitting there. He's doing something. According to Bhagavatam, he's speaking, he's preaching, and it's not just a metaphor. Devotees sitting at the lotus feet means that the devotee has the lotus feet of Krishna in their heart. And their soul is sitting at the lotus feet in the devotee's heart. Meanwhile, he's out preaching. Meanwhile, he's doing service. Meanwhile, he's cleaning the temple. He's dressing the deities while he's sitting at the lotus feet, which are captured in his heart. Okay, Hare Krishna.
Wait.
Oh, more?
It's from Akhilananda.
Akhilanand. Seems Queen Kunti is already absorbed in the mood of separation, although being in front of the Lord. How emotionally wrenching it was for her. Okay? Hare Krishna. Glories to Srila Prabhupada.
There is a last question. And there is a comment.
Is there?
Yeah, I didn't close yet.
You didn't close yet.
Right. So maybe you can just read it. So, because
Okay.
I want to feel that you the last
Okay, wait, I need one. Last question.
last two.
Two questions.
A
Oh
question
my-
or comment?
Thank you for the answer. I meant marked impressions, not stamped. I understand the lines in our feet are different. I was wondering if you have to notice the symbols rather than being so apparent. Yeah, I don't understand the question.
Okay. The last
Okay.
next one.
Question to Bharing Mayavadi. Since Krishna is present in every atom, what do you consider something else? Okay. So somebody answered the Mayavadi. All right, thank you.
Thank you.